Hey friends, it's Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. Today I'm going to pick up with part 3 in my video series of my altered book journal that I turned into a scrapbook. So I started with a Popular Mechanics book that I found at a thrift store, and I removed about half the pages, glued pages together to make them thick, and then added my own artwork, and then added photos and turned it into a scrapbook. I will link videos 1 and 2 in the description below. Appreciate you guys tuning in today, and thanks for watching. This is my father's mother and father. So in the background is that little old lady's notebook again. I have some image transfer with maps this time, and then I did some painting on the top and of the bottom, just like some scallops. So I love these pictures of my grandparents because they're black and white and they're just kind of pretty pictures. And of course, you know, I didn't know them when they were young like that. But this picture is this page is kind of about the relationship they had. So my grandmother was very serious and very, I loved her dearly, but she was just not a playful grandma. And so my grandfather, though, was the complete opposite. He was very silly and he was very playful, and so this was kind of this was about the juxtaposition between the two of them and their two personalities. So here they are when they were very young. Here was a picture I had of them at their 40th anniversary. And then here was a picture I had of them at their 50th anniversary. And so it says, "Behind every cloud is a silver lining." And so, yeah, there you go. This one, I had a collection of all of these animal images, like an alligator and a turtle. And so I started to see, a trend growing. So I started to find more things that had animals. I found a feather and a monkey. And I knew when I started to get all those animal images that I could find a picture of my older son, because he loved animals when he was little. And I could put that picture with all of these things because that tells the story of his obsession when he was a little kid and how he would call them all different. He would call them all different names, like a monkey would be a monk, or a nana monk is what he called it. And so I stuck those all together, added some image transfer, some postage stamps, and then just found a picture of him and put that on there. For this one, this is one of my most favoritist. I love this one. I started off with this going in a sewing direction. So I put sewing patterns and some sewing tape and some fabric, and I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to do a page about sewing. And then it is the farthest from sewing that you could ever think of. I found this picture of, again, my grandparents. And this time it was my grandparents and my uncle and my dad. And the interesting thing in this picture is that they're all smiling, and that's kind of odd. So I wanted to play off of that, and I don't know the whole story, but I just know that, work came first, and everything was just very serious. There wasn't a lot of time for play. There wasn't a lot of time for fun. So this picture just happened to work with all of these colors. And then I had a book page, and in the book page there was a picture of these little kids, and they wanted to have a puppet show, and it said the children wanted to have a puppet show. So it just got me thinking about, okay, they wanted to have a puppet show, but these guys never had a puppet show because there was always work to be done. So I was able to find enough words to complete that statement, and it says the children wanted to have a puppet show, but before it started there was always work. And then I found the words mother and father and brothers and parents, and on the front it says love, look carefully, look closely at the glimpses of, and then it says see the smiling faces, because this was a rare picture to see all of them smiling like that, and to see the four of them in a picture all together. This one has a very light wash of some paint because you can see a lot of the text coming through. And then this is about our cat. Now by the time I got to this one, the spine was starting to get pretty flimsy. So this is actually a piece of fabric that I glued in, and it worked really good at keeping the book together and at making it more sturdy. And then I just added once I added the pictures, I just added some vintage cat ads, like for cat chow and dairy and gravy dinners for cats. Ooh, that sounds gross. And then this is a layout of my son and his teenage humor, and then my son and his little boy humor, and how the two have kind of stayed the same, but they've also kind of, his humor has actually progressed. And so I wrote a little journaling about something that he thought was funny when he was 14 years old, and then what he used to think was funny when he was like 6 or 7 years old. And then on this page, I had painted the paper this really pretty green, and then added some wrapping paper and just kind of did some of my own artwork on here, but I couldn't find anything that was gonna go with these pages. And it wasn't until I took this picture of the sky one night that the blue kind of worked off of the green in this, and then I just started pulling things together. So it's kind of funny because these things are very random. They don't go together. This is a vintage ad of a lamp. This is some graffiti from a local artist here in Kansas City, and he does wonderful work. And then here's this picture of the sky. But when I put them all together and I added all these other bits, I really love this page because it just kind of tells the story of just all of these pretty things that kind of go together. Then over here, I was kind of in that same dilemma. I needed something to play off of this pretty green paint. And it just so happened that my husband was at a soccer game one night, and he was announcing the game, so he was up in the press box, and he took a picture. There was a rainbow that had formed over the soccer field, and it's just perfect how he's got it lined up with the marquee of the school right here in the center. And the funny thing is, our house, we live right behind this the football stadium, so our house is actually right over here in those trees. So this picture, just the colors worked really well, and then I added a vintage children's book page, some vintage paper doll clothing, has nothing to do with this, and then these are old Ditto worksheets. Before we had copy machines, we had Ditto machines, and so those are some old Ditto machine worksheets. This is a page, again, that I'd just done a lot of painting on and made it very pretty. But I stuck a picture in here of me, made it a pocket, added a tag, and then this sat for a really long time. It wasn't until much later, like just a month or two ago, that I was thumbing through this book and I didn't have any words on here. And this song kept going through my head by Group Love. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's the perfect words for this page, because anybody that knows me knows that I am a big mess. And so I put the lyrics of the song right there, and it actually pulls the whole thing together. This one is a picture of my daughter, and I have no words with this because I haven't come up with any words, but this was a picture of her from quite a while ago. So this page may sit with no words, or I may figure out some words to put on it later. And that's the cool thing about No Rules Scrapbooking, is you can go back and do whatever you want. This was me just listing out all of my favorite movies, and some vintage dress pattern girls back in the background, and then just some artwork of me with some pens and some markers. And then these are two pictures that I took of Kansas City. So this is a bridge here in Kansas City over the Missouri River, and this is the skyline of downtown. So I just stuck those in. And then on this one, I have the original text coming through, but I have a lot of like field guide text and tidbits coming through, and just practiced with some ink. And this was about my daughter singing some silly song of when she was a little girl, and here she is like 22 years old, and she's still walking around the house singing it. And it was a song, it was the theme song of a show about cats, and so she was singing it. I thought it was just hilarious, so I stuck that in there. And then the last page I have here was a page of just, I had some really pretty things on here, but it wasn't me. It was just a lot of pretty art, like some vintage paper dolls and some stamps and stuff. So I started to look at my pictures and pulled together what I thought could like come together and tell a story. And it ended up, and I pulled together a bunch of pictures from just our travels over the years whenever we go down to downtown Kansas City. And so this just turned out to be a spread about all the things that I love about Kansas City. And I cut out some letters from, I think this was like a business card, and then made a couple of flaps, put in some pictures of some food and some of the architecture, and there you go. That ended up and was a spread about Kansas City. And so then here's the back of the journal. Here's how thick it is. And here's the front again. So I encourage you guys to try your hand at an altered book if you haven't already. You know, go buy one. Don't spend more than $1 and just take it home and start playing with it. And don't be afraid to mess it up, because you know, if you're afraid of messing it up, if you're afraid of making a mistake, then you're probably not going to be able to push yourself as far as you can creatively. So don't worry about rules, and don't worry about something has to be this way. This can be whatever you want it to be. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.